Hello, everybody. Welcome to Nintendo Expansion Pass here on Boss Rush Network. I'm your host, the enlightened, excited Eddie V. Joining me is Bossman himself, Mr. Corey Derrick.
Hello, Ed.
Hello. If you guys have not seen our Nintendo Direct recap of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, please go check that out. We had a great discussion, just talking about the game, what it's going to be about, and more, which also kind of plays a part in this expansion pass. If you take a look at Xenoblade Chronicles 3, you see this beautiful, expansive world. And we know that the Xenoblade Chronicles team, or Monolith Soft, I should say, has been helping the Zelda team build Breath of the Wild 2. We know that Breath of the Wild 2 got delayed until next year. So my question is, because of what Xenoblade Chronicles 3, quality-wise, is giving us in this expansive world, is the expectation for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 now bigger?
Yeah, I think that this changes some things. But Ed, before we get into that,
yes,
we have patrons.
Yes,
we have our great patrons of the Boss Rush Network. So, actually, last night when we were recording the Boss Rush podcast, our guests did not know what Patreon was. So I guess this is probably a good kind of refresher, right? So Patreon is basically a subscription service to your favorite creators, where you can support them directly through a tiered plan system. Like we offer 2 tiers right now, a $1 and $5 tier system, and you just kind of donate. It's kind of like we get 75 cents off of every dollar, right? Because obviously Patreon needs a cut because they are offering a service, and that's how they stay in business, and very smart business. But it's basically just a subscription service where you can support your favorite creators. Some people offer exclusive things. We might offer that in the future. We don't offer that right now. All of our content remains free on YouTube and podcast services. Our major perk for you going to Patreon, patreon.com/BossRushNetwork, is that we offer you 4 shows early and a couple extra stuff early if we record it. And that's how we kind of celebrate your patronage. All of our content remains free. We're not asking you to do this, to unlock our content. Maybe in the future, sometime we will have some sort of exclusive thing that's not in the plans right now, because we're still kind of jumbling a bunch of other things to make sure that we get the content out on time as it is. But as of right now, all of our content's free. You can get Nintendo Expansion Pass, the Boss Rush podcast 1 week early, and then our Retro Nostalgia podcast, Standard Definition, and our adult-themed podcast, After Dark, 2 weeks early. By subscribing for just $1, you get that early, and we appreciate everybody's patronage. And I think at least once a month on a show, we're going to kind of explain what Patreon is. So we offer a $1 tier, but we also have a $5 tier, which is our Patreon producers tier, which means that we give you a shout out during our Patreon producer segment here on this program and many other podcasts as well. So we're going to do that. We want to recognize our Patreon producers at the $5 tier on Patreon. That is patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. We want to thank Quentin Jackson, Rebecca Jewell, Adriel Munger, and my wife, Sana Dierig. Remember, all of our content remains free on YouTube and podcast services and our website, bossrush.net. But if you want a couple things early, if you just want to support us because you think we're cool, we really appreciate it. I want to thank all of our Patreon producers, all of our patrons, and even all of our free feed listeners. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, we encourage you to leave us a 5-star rating and review. It really helps us with discoverability and availability. So, yeah, Patreon. Now back to the topic, which is there a new expectation for the world of Breath of the Wild now that we've seen Xenoblade Chronicles 3? Like Ed said, we did about a 20-minute breakdown of the direct. You can check that out on the direct recap show. Also here on the gosh, why do I keep saying Busters? It is on the Boss Rush Network. You can watch it on the Boss Rush Network YouTube. You can listen to it on the POW Block podcast feed. There are new expectations, I think, in a sense. Xenoblade during the deep dive was just this really big, beautiful world. And I think that sets some expectations. Now, I think that Breath of the Wild 2 not being held back by the Wii U hardware, it's being made native for the Switch. We won't have that kind of frame ratey kind of, we have to adjust certain things because it's on another platform. I think all that's going to set, it's going to boost Breath of the Wild, tenfold, I think.
Yes.
But looking at Xenoblade, the world was that world was so beautiful and full of life and full of story. Like, you look around and in Breath of the Wild, you saw like a broken down Lon Lon Ranch and you're like, oh, that's Lon Lon Ranch, right? But it feels like there's more storytelling in the world in general, right? Even in the bustling towns that you saw in there, you saw rubble laying on the ground. And I think the first two games did a pretty decent job of doing this too, like world storytelling. But, you see the sword kind of piercing the world. You see these giant, titans kind of fighting each other. You see just things frozen in time that's telling a story. And I think that's super impactful. And I think that's something that Breath of the Wild 2 could learn from Xenoblade, 2 and 3.
Yeah, I think with the sky element being added to Breath of the Wild, I think that gives Monolith Soft and the Zelda team to be able to talk more, because we only kind of seen like only one section. We haven't seen the full world just yet. We've seen some bits part here and there, and I think Anuma and the team are just like, we could bring more lore, more depth to this world. It's just not, oh, we're gonna copy and paste anything. No, if the Xenoblade world could evolve, so could Hyrule. And I really feel like when we go in, because I know people are going to be comparing this game not only to 1 but to Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I feel like Monolith Star probably be like, you know what, Anuma, we could do this and incorporate this. We could do some undersea stuff. We could make this luscious land that's in this dry desert appear, and have a point of why it is in this world. Maybe it is something that would deal with Zelda or with Ganondorf or with the blade of the Master Sword. Like, this may actually be able to play a part. Maybe it's secret water and stuff. Like, I feel like the Zelda team and Monolith Soft really just like they see what they could do with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, learn from it, and be like, we could really improve this game. And the expectations now is going to be like, I know people are just like, I want to know what the name of the game is. Now, to me personally, I want to know what the world is. Because if I find out what this world is going to be about, then I can start making story theories and things like that. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Sorry, I was trying to do something. I 100% agree with you. When you look at Breath of the Wild, right? The towns that you do go to, there's people walking around, there's people doing things, right? But it only feels like there's like a couple people, right? And even going back and kind of replaying Xenoblade 1, you go into these towns, there's like, it feels like there's hundreds of people walking around, even though there's probably only about, I don't know, 20 or 30, maybe, right? You go back to the, where, Shulk's lab is, and there's soldiers walking around like training, right? You see the training soldiers, you see the marketplace bustling with people like trying to sell you stuff, or, you see people kind of standing around ready to go fishing or whatever, right? And like, yeah, I get that their animations aren't kind of lifelike because it's a Wii game, right? It's almost a 12-year-old game at this point. But like you get the sense that the town is living, right? And
Yes.
In Breath of the Wild, as much of a sense as you get these towns are living, there's only like 5 or 6, maybe 10 people max in the town that you interact with or that you can see doing things. And I think that you're going to see a bigger more alive world. And I know that like Breath of the Wild is not meant to be Xenoblade, right? I know there's not going to be
Yes.
towns everywhere, right? We experience that in Breath of the Wild. The story just doesn't allow for that, right? Especially where it seems like we're going, right? Okay, yeah, maybe there's the Sky Town, right? That's, totally Skyward Sword, not Skyward Sword, right? But like maybe you'll see people living up there kind of forging an army to fight, the calamity or whatever. Or
Mm-hmm.
you go underground and you see an underground kind of town that's trying to hide from the calamity or something. Like there's different things you could do to make bigger areas feel more alive where there's more people. Because like when you really think about it, like, okay, Hyrule Castle, the king, Zelda, they rule a kingdom, but who are they ruling? Are they ruling this set of like 40 people that you meet in the entire game?
Right.
And so yeah, that's kind of what I want to see now is how big and alive can you make Hyrule while still making it feel desolate and kind of full of despair. And that's what I'm kind of excited for.
And like, just think about the champions and their areas that they've been, their like territory. There's a possibility that they have expanded and got more people into their town. We maybe Age of Calamity does play a part with it. We may actually now see new champions, and because of those new champions, there's new there's just some newness to it, to that era.
I would like to see new races be introduced with new champions, right? I think Zelda has kind of been stuck on these kind of 3 or 4 races for a long time, right? With, obviously the Hylians and then the Gorons, and I think adding the bird race. I always forget what the bird race is called. I think that was a nice addition to the game, even though we've seen that kind of thing before, but not in like this kind of they haven't really been featured the way the Zoras or the Gorons have been featured, right?
Yeah.
And I really liked seeing the Tree Town and them kind of living in a society and being their own race, whereas I would like to see another race kind of thrive in a world, right? And like this is kind of the first time really since Ocarina, I guess maybe Twilight Princess to an extent, but like the Gerudo kind of had like a main role in this game, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Ocarina of Time, they had a role, but it was more of like, we don't like Ganon, as opposed to like being the protectors and the powerful female race. And it was just really nice to see them have like this role in this game. And I want to see more. I want to see more races. I want to see more. I don't know. I want to see more of the world and the civilizations. And maybe we don't get that with Breath of the Wild 2, but I would like to see that in a future Zelda iteration where like, I don't know, you think of Twilight Princess or Ocarina of Time and you go into Castle Town and it's bustling, full of people.
Yes.
And I get that those are loaded instances and they're not exactly the open world that Breath of the Wild is, but like they were doing that stuff on the Nintendo 64. Why can't I see that like a really bustling castle town on Nintendo Switch, right? Especially if there's a time traveling element, which a lot of people are pointing to, right? There could totally be a time traveling element to this game where you go back and see a bustling society, castle town, a really living Lon Lon Ranch, or maybe you see a kokery forest, right? Like maybe you see that kind of thing. And I really want to see that. I want to see this world explode and open up and just be a thriving society. And then as you travel to different time periods, if that's what they're doing, they, you know, oh, it gets bleaker and bleaker and bleaker as time moves forward. And I think that would be really cool to see.
Because it feels like there's a resurrection that needs to happen. Maybe there are
You mean
past.
the Tomb of Resurrection?
Ah! But there may have been a race that has somewhat extinct, and there's a possibility of time does play a factor. They bring it back into this world in order to, because maybe for those past races that's extinct, help what the Master Sword became to be. Because if the Master Sword is going to be part of the focus of getting restored, they may have to go back. They may have to bring something in that, you know. So there is a possibility of a lot of that happening. Um, and I think because now, like we said earlier, they're able to focus this game primarily on Switch, and they have learned the ins and outs of it. And probably even with Tecmo, they probably was able to help, or I don't know if of Platinum or anything help. I don't think so, but I think Tecmo probably even came up and gave some ideas for a new one to be like, I like what you guys did in Age of Calamity. We may borrow some of that.
Well, if you remember, like, Monolith has 4 teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have 4 teams, and I think with them helping, I think that they could totally, I know they're not going to be able to do everything that they want to do with a world like Zelda, but I think they're going to be able to, I really think they're going to be able to make this world their own, even though it's another team's game.
Yes.
And I think that's really cool.
Yes. And it's going to be really interesting to see what the sky level plays in this, and if time is the factor, like freezing time in order to solve puzzles. What the caves are going to be. Can some of the old parts of Hyrule that was destroyed be restored? Because I kind of feel like there is going to be the Guardians. What are they going to do? Are we going to get anything with them? Like, I wonder if the Zelda team and Monolith Soft had an idea with the Guardians and everything. Is there a key to actually unlock more of the history of them and what their purpose was,
right,
and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I want to see why are the Guardians attacking us? I want to know why they're infected, and maybe that there were little pieces in Breath of the Wild that I just don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's been almost 6 years since I played that game. Gosh, 6 years. Can you believe that? You know what's happened since 2017? My daughter, both my kids were born. 2 new consoles came out.
Boss Rush was formed from Codename X.
Yeah, Boss Rush was formed. Oh my gosh, dude, and yeah, I just
I literally have a feeling by the time of December, I really think that by the time we get more information for Breath of the Wild 2, everybody's gonna restart that game. There is another expansion pass that we're gonna have later on down the line, about Breath of the Wild. But I kind of feel like when I get that time to revisit this game, I feel like I could do stuff in different orders. I could redo these shrines, but there's something in this world that I know that I miss, and I feel like with this replay, I'm going to find something that is going to play a part in this game in part 2. I think there's just so much hidden stuff still in this game, that could be revealed.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that, if we are going underground, which I think we clearly are from that first trailer, and we go to the sky, that opens up a lot of secrets and shrine possibilities. And I wonder how they're going to change the base map. Like, how are they going to section things off? And maybe they don't. Maybe that's a interesting take on this game, is that Breath of the Wild's world is still there, and you have, like, maybe there's new areas to explore that they didn't open up in the first game, like like in a waterfall, or maybe there's in the main towns that you go to, right? Maybe there's like a secret passageway underneath one of the houses that you go down, and you find these caverns that you can explore. And I don't know, man. I just don't know. Maybe you just get transported all together. Maybe, like, I just don't know. I'm so intrigued by what Breath of the Wild is doing that it's just make it happen already.
I kind of want to know, with the hand that's holding, I'm assuming Calamity Ganon, or whoever the villain is that is is that the Queen's hand? Is that who conjured up this to happen? What's making Link and Zelda actually go and look for this hand of what's going on? Because I really feel like something has kind of wrecked Hyrule for them to start be like, we need to find out what's going on. Because I feel like this is the Castlevania effect, where there is time has passed, but the villain is always trying to resurrect some version of Dracula.
Yeah. I mean, look, Ganon is a huge villain. I still think, like, maybe Vati is the villain. We just haven't seen, because it's not going to be Ganon again.
It can't be.
This is going to be the resurrection of Ganon, like the true Ganon that maybe we fight in the potential third game. I still think that the Breath of the Wild series is a trilogy. I still, in my heart of hearts, it's going to be a trilogy. This is going to be kind of like Empire Strikes Back, where it actually ends darker, right? And then, you start from the dark place and end, victorious or whatever. Maybe Link sacrifices himself in the third game. I don't know. I truly think that maybe it's who's the villain from Skyward Sword? The shiny pants guy.
Yes.
I don't. God, what's his name? I just. Hold on, I gotta look it up. Skyward.
So, yes, because there's so many. Like I said, it's
Girahim,
a Castlevania event.
Yeah, Girahim. Maybe this is like, maybe Girahim or Vati are coming together to, like, resurrect Ganon in some form. Maybe there's some sort of resurrection ritual that you have to try to stop. Maybe that's the overarching story of this game. We'll see. This game, there's something special to this game, and I cannot wait to see what it offers. Because it's not going to have anything to hold it back this time, except for the Switch itself. And to me, nobody knows their own hardware like Nintendo. They can squeeze every little inch of juice out of that thing. And it's going to be, I don't know. I think it's going to be something really awesome.
We haven't even touched on the Yigyu clan. Like, do they have a purpose in this game?
Yeah, to annoy you.
But what does the Zelda team and the Monolith Soft team? I wonder if they kind of repurpose them in design. Do they even have their own section? They had their little hideout, but now, do they have multiple hideouts throughout the world that if you sneak in and you defeat them, they're almost treated as a shrine? That you do get something, maybe special weapons, maybe items to craft, outfits and stuff to do. Maybe part of it opens up the world in the map. Just think of the Yigyu clan taking over a certain part where you gotta, how when you climbed up the tower and the unlock stuff, maybe it's surrounded by the Yu clan.
Maybe. I mean, maybe they have like a enemy of my enemy is my friend type of situation with
Mm-hmm.
uh someone who's trying to resurrect Ganon, right? Or maybe Vati comes from there, right? Maybe they changed the backstory of Vati to say, they're part of the clan, and they have a rise up and they see potential in uh furthering their whatever they're trying to do by resurrecting Ganon or something, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's it. So,
Yeah. And the presence of the king.
mm-hmm,
What I don't think we got too much information. Even though part of the story of Heart of Age of Calamity tells a lot about the king and Zelda's relationship. But did the king play some stuff in this world that Zelda and Link doesn't know? So that allows Monolith Soft to build upon that. Because everybody, don't forget, Breath of the Wild 2 is what started off as DLC for the first game.
mm-hmm.
It was going to be simple DLC, but too many ideas, too many story points were like fleshed out and came to part, and it was the jump off for Breath of the Wild 2.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know,
that's what makes me excited, I think, too, is like there's so much potential for this sequel that it's so funny that this DLC project grew and became a 6-year project, right? I want Breath of the Wild to be a something that I can play for 500 hours and still not be tired of, right? And
mm-hmm.
that's what Breath of the Wild 1 was for me. And I actually think I might do another playthrough this year. I know I keep saying that, and I haven't because I have that. My statistics in that game are so just tied to my love of the Switch and stuff. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I put 220 something hours into that game, 30 something hours. I don't even know the count at this point. And that is a game I think about weekly still. To this day, I think about it weekly and be like, man, I kind of want to go back. I kind of want to just explore the world again. I kind of want to go over here. I kind of want to, build Terrytown again. I kind of want to find the monster guy and collect the dragon scales and whatever. I still think about the game all the time.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is feeding into obviously it's feeding into my excitement for a sequel. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I kind of hope that I hope that Xenoblade 3 has had an influence on Breath of the Wild 2, and I kind of hope that maybe their influence will be seen in like towns and stuff, but I also hope that they're seen in like proper dungeons coming back as well. That's something we haven't talked about. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
have talked about it, but not in depth, like proper
Yes.
dungeons and, these kind of iconic weapons returning, maybe, I've said it a couple times on the show and on Pal Block where like, I hope that, yeah, there's going to be breakable weapons. Two things, crafting, which we know Xenoblade is good at, right?
Yes.
Maybe that'll have a big influence on this. And there's a little bit of crafting in Zelda with your armor and stuff. I know that, like you can go to the fairies and upgrade your armor and stuff. I get that. I want crafting for weapons to make them stronger, and then maybe the dungeon weapons are the unbreakable versions of those weapons, and then you can kind of like create a build of a weapon. And I know this is really deep for Nintendo, and I don't think that they're going to do this because they want as many people to play and enjoy this game as possible.
Yes.
So I think they would stop at the unbreakable weapons in the dungeons. But what I would love to see is like you go in, and maybe there's like a Mega Man effect to this where you can kind of go wherever you want and fight the bosses in any order you want. But there is like a rock paper scissors effect to them where like, okay, well, I need to go to this dungeon, I'll get the boomerang, and then after I get the boomerang, this boomerang is obviously the weapon to go fight this boss over here, right?
Yes.
And like maybe people won't find that out for, 3, 6, 12 months after, right? The optimum way to finish this game. But like, it's the Link Between Worlds kind of effect where like you can kind of go wherever you want, but maybe there is an optimal way to finish this game. I I want to see that. I want to see proper dungeons come back. I want to see unbreakable weapons. I want to see crafting, but the kind of, I guess, like the master versions of weapons, I want to see maybe like mod slots on there to where, oh, well, I'm going into the ice biome of this world. Let me slot a fire rune into this sword, and it lights up on fire, and maybe it melts ice, or maybe it can unlock, yeah.
The scientists, the two scientists that are in the game, I feel like they're gonna handle that, because when you find guardian stuff or you find new materials and stuff, they can now scientifically enhance your weapon. But let them enhance it. But if you get the super ingredients, and maybe there is the person who make weapons is a master. Maybe he starts learning the arts and the crafts. Maybe he'd be like, yeah, there was a lost legend on some of the these master weapons, and but it was lost in time. Maybe there is a way to find it. So you are on this journey finding it. You find it, you get you got the ingredients, and you could go to that craftsman to be like, okay, wow, I can now enhance this weapon.
Right.
And everything and stuff. And maybe it's because of, with the dungeons or mini dungeons or something, that maybe these items did get stole from Ganondorf's minions or Ganon's minions or whoever, some maybe the Yigu clan or something. They stole the stuff, and now they hid it with all of these traps, and they treated everything as a dungeon.
Yeah. Yeah. I would like to see, as much as I really truly love Breath of the Wild, my biggest complaint was the dungeon design, right? That was my biggest complaint in the entire game. And I think there's a way you can merge the traditional Zelda experience with the Breath of the Wild experience, and it feels like a complete package. I still truly think you could have these dungeons in there, and you can still do the Breath of the Wild thing and tackle them however you want. But there's something that I would love to see in terms of like the return of some iconic bosses, like a giant Goma spider, or King Dodongo, or I would just love to see them come back in some way and offer players rewards for fighting these monsters. And maybe you can play the whole game without ever touching them, right? Which,
yes,
obviously in Breath of the Wild you can go straight to Ganon, fight him with a stick or whatever you want, right? Like you could totally do that.
What came to my mind when you mentioned that, I feel like that tech demo has got repurposed for one of the sky dungeons.
Yeah, don't tease me like that, Ed. I want to see that, and I think Nintendo made Breath of the Wild thinking, okay, well, they don't like the way we do Skyward Sword, but I think there could still be a little bit of Ocarina of Time in there, right? Where because in Ocarina of Time, you don't have to go to Death Mountain right away. You can go do the water temple first if you really want to,
Right.
And maybe they look at that and say, well, maybe we can do that. Maybe we can do a little bit of a traditional mixed with the new in here.
I think they learned from Link to the Past, Link Between Worlds. I'm sorry, where you could go anywhere, where you could get all your weapons and stuff. But because I think that going to any dungeon, any way that you want to and stuff, was perfect.
Yeah.
Being, like you said, being able to tackle the way that you want to tackle this world. I think with Monolith and the Zelda team, I believe that they want you to do that. The
Hmm.
thing about it is, once again, it depends on how you prepare and how you're going to get there. If
Hmm.
you're well prepared to get there and you're skilled enough to get through everything,
Hmm.
this is your reward. You risked it, but the risk was worth the reward.
Right. Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you.
Cause trust, cause trust me, if I'm able to get a water tower, a water dungeon out the way first, and get a grappling hook, I'm doing that first.
Yeah.
Like, I want to get that done as quickly as I can.
Yeah. It's I did the water temple first in Breath of the Wild, or the water beast in Breath of the
Yeah,
Wild
same
first.
it, same.
And yeah, man. Although I don't ever remember having trouble with the Ocarina of Time water temple, although I have only really played that game one time in its fullest. So
I had problem defeating the boss, uh, because I ran out of weapons, and so I had to beat them with the explosive bombs.
mhm.
And I think that's why I feel like you need a permanent weapon in that game. Because definitely, was it no, was it no? It was one of them that one of the bosses that did the thunder, that was doing the lightning and stuff, that was
Mhm.
moving around
Oh yeah,
everywhere.
that boss was
He was
super hard.
Yes, he was difficult, and not and definitely when you are have to when you got to deal with that camera and you don't got the weapons, dude, it's troublesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely interesting for sure. I that boss was super hard. I would love to never fight that boss again.
Hmm.
Uh, also, another reason why I'm timid about that, because I remember that boss, and then one of the other ones was, it wasn't as hard, but it was still pretty difficult. I don't remember which one it was though. Um, Shoot, I would have to think about it. But you know, I just, man, they were just really something.
Yeah,
Uh,
I never defeated any of the what is it's he's like a bull with he's like Goro from Mortal Kombat. No, not Goro.
oh, the Lionels, the
The Lionels. I've never defeated one.
yeah, those guys were rough also, but also they were for like those were for, I think they were designed to level, like, grind out you know, upgrading your armor and stuff, getting resources from them for that. And also some of them had some really cool weapons, but yeah, they were difficult. I kind of avoided them after one or two kind of.
Yeah, because I literally when you had to sneak to get that one ingredient or one thing to get back in the water temple, I was just like, I'm not fighting you
Yeah.
because I know that I'm gonna get my thing and I'm going to try to dip so you don't see me. And if you
Yeah.
see me, I'm out of this mud.
Yeah. Uh Also, I guess one other thing that I would like to see, and I know it's not, it really seems like less and less likely that it's going to happen, but I would really love to see a party or like a companion system
Hmm.
with Zelda, right? I think Zelda is going to play a major part in this game, in the story, and one of my absolute favorite part of Breath of the Wild was using the Wolf Link amiibo as a
Yes.
companion, right? And I know you could only use it once a day, which was fine. Which, you know, I think that's kind of a stupid rule. I think it should just be a, you know, there to until you die. I think.
Hmm.
But like one of my favorite things to do, the first thing I would do every time I sat down to play that game was scan that amiibo in and have him run around and help me fight. And it actually created almost like a tactical style game, like, you know, when you're attacking a bokoblin camp or something, right? Where like
Yes.
you would scan him in, and he would run up and attack first, and they would be focused on him, and you would run up behind them to shoot like one of the exploding barrels, or, you know,
Oh,
shoot your fire
yeah.
arrows, or, you know, use one of your abilities on them, and it was really cool. And I would love for some sort of companion system to come back. And we all know how. And again, I know that Monolith is focused on the world building, but there are elements of the party system in that game that just are so cool that I wish Nintendo would at least take into consideration to an extent.
I think Monolith Soft. I really have a feeling Monolith Soft played a bigger part in this, and not just designing the world and helping the team out.
Well,
I really feel like
even the art style. I think even the art style, like you look at Xenoblade 2 and Breath of the Wild, their art styles they're not the same, but they are similar enough to where you could say, oh, that game could have been potentially made by the same team. Especially in the world, in the way, like, you know, obviously the way that the grass moved and remember when Breath of the Wild, the first gameplay demo was shown off, not the cool trailer where Link's being chased by the Guardian, which was also really cool.
Oh, it's such a beautiful, that was such beauty. Yeah.
But yeah, like that first gameplay demo, like that art style was totally different. It was so like, okay, yeah, this is a Zelda world, and this is the tower, and Link looks like Link, you know, from past games. And it wasn't until further on, I would say at least the 2016 E3 demo, where like you really started to see the art style take shape, the world take shape.
Yes.
And we hadn't even really seen Xenoblade yet, right? And
no.
And until like that 2017, right, was when it was revealed. Xenoblade. So like that 2016 demo, when that's all Nintendo showed at E3 that year, really kind of showed how everything was being brought together. And then like the Switch reveal, you know, we still didn't know it was called the Switch at that time, but we knew something like the Switch was coming. And then the reveal in November with Skyrim and all that, and then obviously when March rolled around, we got to play it, and it was just everything we wanted. And then that E3, they showed off Xenoblade, and then it was kind of revealed that Monolith was helping them build the world and everything, and really influencing how Zelda was designed from a world standpoint. And it's like, I totally see Monolith's influence in Breath of the Wild.
And I didn't even make that connection because realizing the big world of Xenoblade Chronicles X, where the thing to me on Wii U was just like, how is this possible? How is this running? How is this world so alive? And then to hear it and realize because of the art style that was chosen, to be like, oh, okay, I see the difference. But now I see the influence. And now just seeing Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and hearing Breath of the Wild 2 delay, I'm like, oh, there's more. You guys are like, okay, we had quality, but we could up the quality. And I think Nintendo didn't expect that when they delayed Breath of the Wild 2 that they would get this much excitement.
Right.
Like, I feel like they're paying attention, and now that the Zelda team has seen it, and I don't think I don't know about sales or anything like that. I think because of the reaction that people have had to what Monolith Soft is doing, that has it's probably just it probably made Anuma feel not pressure but relieved to be like, okay, we're probably on the right track with something. They know what they're expecting. We know that we could give them their expectations or even beat it.
Right.
Because I know they're polishing stuff, but they have to be adding a lot. And I don't know when Breath of the Wild 2 is going to get announced, but because of Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
We don't even have a title for Breath of the Wild 2. That's the problem. And it comes out in 9 months, theoretically. Where is the title? And I know they said that the title would like spoil some of the story stuff that they want to reveal to us.
Mm-hmm.
But where is the title? You know, like, I don't know, man. Like this game, there's so like, and I know that they're doing it to build hype, and they might be coming up with like an American title versus a Japanese title, but like, man, I just I can't believe we don't have a title yet. And
but now do we expect it to be in the Nintendo Direct? If we don't get it in June, do we expect it to get it in August? And the reason why I'm skipping July is because of Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Right.
Because if we don't, because if it comes in July before Xenoblade 3 drops, dude, that's going to be a discussion that whole month. Not just for Boss Rush, but I think just for content creators in the gaming space everywhere. Because now it's going to be like, I want to examine the first trailer for Breath of the Wild 2. I want to examine Anuma's delay. And then I want to see this E3. What is going on that I could connect?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be an awesome game, and I think Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is going to be an awesome game, and I can't wait. I actually can't wait to play Xenoblade Chronicles 3 so we can compare it to Breath of the Wild 2 at some point.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
So that's I don't really have anything else to say on this topic. I'm just very excited for both games. 2022 has been a year of, I would say, gaming drought for me in terms of what I'm excited for and stuff. And, you know, Fire Emblem Warriors is here, obviously, which I will be playing in spite of me not liking Warriors games all that much. You know, I didn't really get into Strikers. Kirby wasn't really for me. So Xenoblade's really going to be the first kind of major game from Nintendo for me this year that I'm excited for. I mean, I've been playing a lot of other things on Switch, right? Like, I've been playing a lot of Super Mario 3D World. I've been playing a lot of Death's Door recently, which is amazing. Death's Door is awesome. I can't believe I slept on that game for like 6 or 7 months.
Everybody stepped on it because they wanted to play it on Switch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, it was an Xbox exclusive for 3 months, right? And then it came to other platforms 3 months later when Xbox dropped it on Game Pass, right? So they kind of hit 2 really solid marketing beats with that game, which I think really did that game wonders.
Yes.
So, yeah, if you haven't played Death's Door, I highly recommend it. It has a very top-down Zelda feel. It's a little bit harder than a top-down Zelda, but it's definitely worth your time. But anyways, I don't have anything else to say about Breath of the Wild. I don't know why I got stuck on Death's Door. It's because I've been playing it, and it's really fun. And it's the first game I think I've played all year besides the Witch Queen for Destiny that I think about constantly. I'm like, I want to go play this as soon as I possibly can.
I really feel like there needs to be a backlog game of the year nomination category.
Yeah. Well, maybe for the Bossies this year we will get that out there.
But, well, everybody, that's going to be it for Expansion Pass. We do want to know what you guys think about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and what they showed and displayed about that game. Could that be a part of Breath of the Wild 3? Like the world building, the design, maybe characters that we don't know, classes we don't know. Like, there's so much that could be now in Breath of the Wild 2. I'm super interested. You can let us know on our Discord, and at Power Block Podcast on our on our Twitter page. We really want to know. But Corey, where can we find you?
You can find me at I am Corey HD on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on Nintendo Power Block. Check out episode 300 because that'll be out by the time this goes up. Man, dude, 300 episodes. Check out the Boss Rush podcast, which I also host. You can check out Standard Definition, which we have some pretty great episodes lined up for you there as well. And yeah.
Yes, you guys can find me on Twitter at ThatBretchCo and on Instagram. Check me out on the Discord at Boss Rush. On our Discord, and check out bossrush.net for our articles and more. But go ahead, Corey.
I forgot to say the store. So we don't do a good enough job of supporting the store on the shows, but the episode 300 stuff is up, the Power Block stuff is up, and our Boss Rush Pride shirts are up if you would like to be, indulge in that purchase as well. Very excited for the store. I guess the reason why I haven't been promoting the store a lot is because I've been trying to switch stores because Redbubble's quality is not high. But yeah, if you want some cool stickers or a shirt or a mug or something, you can go to bossrush.net and click on store and it'll take you right there.
Yes. Well, everybody, that's it for the show. We'll see you next time on Nintendo Expansion Pass. Bye, everybody.
Bye.